Mine appellation is Marcus. In the prime of my years, I find myself at the age of 32. Verily, I am the one who did remove his name from the mortgage, after my mother did declare, with utmost candor, that I was not to be welcomed at the festive gathering of Christmas. Yet, let us turn back the hands of time, for this tale did not spring forth from the void. This tale hath been wrought over many a year, akin to a gradual seepage from a ceiling's conduit, which at last did rupture one fateful winter's eve, drenching all that I once deemed steadfast. In sooth, I have ever been the dutiful son, neither the cherished nor the favored, yet assuredly the steadfast one, the unwavering soul, the one who doth appear when the chariot falters or when a soul requires aid in the art of tax preparation. My younger brother, Tyler, he was the one who seemed to escape the clutches of consequence with ease. A most resplendent progeny. Should I have returned home late during my years of youth, it would have been deemed a breach of respect. When he did stagger in at the hour of 3, reeking of ale, it was but the folly of youth. From a tender age, I discerned that my role within the household was of a more practical nature, less cherished, yet more beneficial. Upon the completion of my scholarly pursuits, I secured a commendable position in the realm of information technology and commenced a fervent endeavor to amass my fortunes. I did not partake in revelries, did not journey far and wide, nor did I elevate my chariot. With steadfast resolve, I set my sights upon acquiring a dwelling ere I reached the age of 30, and lo, I succeeded. Verily, somewhat so. Therein lies the true beginning of the tale. In the prime of my 28th year, my mother did summon me upon the hour of midday repast. She did declare a notion, and I was already privy to its implications. She would oft refer to matters as notions, when in truth, her intent lay in a desire for thine assistance, cloaked in the guise of mutual benefit. This occasion, the notion was that she, my stepfather Ray, and Tyler had discovered the ideal dwelling, yet they lacked the means to procure it independently. It hath ample room for all, she declared, as if we were akin to the most illustrious of families. Here, we might establish true bonds of kinship. Text at long last, thou mayest possess a chamber of thine own for the pursuit of thy labors. And ponder this, no more rent to pay. The abode was most splendid, I shall not deceive thee. 2 tales unfold, a grand expanse of greenery, and a modest sunroom that I envisioned brimming with verdant life and tomes of wisdom. The twist, indeed, was that I would bear the greater part of the cost, yet they wove it into a tale of investment for my future. They did proclaim their intent to bear the burden of utilities and provisions, whilst I took upon myself the weighty matter of the mortgage. Mother did proclaim that Tyler would soon rise from his troubles and lend his hand to the household once more. Ray encountered certain tribulations in his toil, yet he endeavored to unravel the complexities before him. The entire affair was steeped in doubt, yet I grew weary of casting my coin into the abyss of a rental. Truth be told, a fragment of my heart yearned to trust that my kin might unite as one harmonious force. Thus I did acquiesce. I inscribed my name upon the mortgage, rendered the down payment with mine own hand, took residence with them, and for a brief season, all was well. We did partake in repasts together. Tyler exhibited a demeanor of courtesy and respect. Mine own mother did appear. Art thou filled with pride for my deeds? Verily, 'tis likely what hath sustained my spirit. Unbeknownst to me, I found myself ensnared in a web of deception. In the passage of 6 moons, the initial fissures did appear. Alas, Tyler remained idle in his endeavors. He proclaimed himself caught in the web of chance, a phrase veiling his nocturnal pursuits of virtual conquest until the hour of 3, whilst casting the blame of all woes upon the merciless hand of commerce. Ray did take his leave at the break of dawn, speaking in hushed tones of a performance, yet nary a coin did he bring home. Oft have the dues of service lingered unpaid. Provisions have grown scant. And whenever I did broach the subject, my mother would incline her head and utter phrases such as, "Well, thou art the one with the fine employment, Marcus. Thou art capable of managing it, art thou not?" I endeavored to maintain my composure. I truly did. I did oft remind myself that this plight was but a fleeting shadow, that fortune would soon smile upon them, and that I must needs exercise patience in the face of adversity. Yet, I found myself increasingly perceiving my abode not as a sanctuary of solace, but rather as a mere vessel for the dispensing of funds, with naught but a chamber for repose. It availed not that they comported themselves as if the dwelling were their own. Tyler did oft summon his companions to gather in merry assembly. Ray didst change the locks, and without a word to me, he did so. Whilst I was away on matters of labor, my mother didst take it upon herself to rearrange my office, transforming it into her own sanctuary for the pursuit of literature. The moment I espied her rifling through my correspondence, seeking aught of significance, I was on the brink of despair. Yet I held my peace. Mine own counselor, verily, I hath begun to consult, did proclaim that I must establish limits. Indeed, I did so. I did set forth a ledger, marking in bright hues the sums I did pay and those they did not. I did beseech them to commence contributing, not of great magnitude, merely a few hundred each month. They comported themselves as though I were requesting a vital organ. "We are thine own kin," quoth mother, as if such a declaration were a key to freedom from all misdeeds. Verily, I am aware. I did impart my words unto her. Thus have I permitted this affair to linger on for such a time. Tyler did roll his eyes, and did murmur a remark regarding my supposed fixation upon wealth. Ray did not grace the discourse with his presence. After that, the course of events took a most peculiar turn. Chilled to the bone, subtly confrontational, Tyler hath ceased his discourse with me, save when he doth require assistance with the Wi-Fi's vexing troubles. Mine own mother would prepare the evening repast, yet oft would neglect to set aside a portion sufficient for my hunger. Upon my return, I discovered that clandestine gatherings had transpired in my absence, resulting in alterations within our abode. The furnishings had been rearranged, duties redistributed, and a peculiar decree regarding footwear in the parlor seemed to apply solely to my person. Yet the true misfortune did arrive in the month of November past. In the midst of toil and labor, I found my heart yearning for the joyous arrival of the festive season. Mine occupation hath been most tumultuous, and all I desired was a serene respite. Lo, I had procured adornments, not extravagant, merely a tree, a few lights, and a wreath to grace the entrance. On a fair Saturday morn, whilst they ventured forth, I did prepare all things with great care. Upon that eve, they returned and comported themselves as though I had ignited a conflagration within the parlor. "Pray, why didst thou not seek our counsel ere taking such a step?" Mother did declare, her arms firmly crossed, casting a fierce glare upon the tree as though it had dared to utter an affront against her. Text: I did believe we were to partake in merriment as one, I declared, in a state of bewilderment. "We hath resolved to forego the festivities of Christmas this year," quoth Tyler. Verily, it is not but a folly of coin. All were in accord, the matron did declare. No soul did impart such tidings unto me, I declared. "Perchance, hadst thou been present more oft," she retorted, "thou wouldst be aware of the happenings afoot." A heavy stillness did descend upon my breast, rendering me devoid of feeling. I found myself rooted in place, gazing upon the twinkling lights that danced behind her visage. Her tone bespoke a sense of my being the stranger in her midst, as though I had intruded upon their realm with my verdant offering and unbridled mirth, thus shattering the delicate balance of their existence. Yet I did consume it whole. I gathered the adornments, removed the garland, and reassured myself that it was not a battle worth engaging in. I did persuade mine own heart that perchance, just perchance, the coming year might unfold in a manner most unlike the past. And thus arrived the week that hath just passed. Upon my return from a journey of commerce, I discovered the parlor adorned with a splendid array of lights. Hosiery draped o'er the hearth, melodies of the season wafting through the air. They did adorn the tree in unison, their laughter echoing through the air. In the corridor I lingered, observing them for but a fleeting moment, pondering if perchance they sought to catch me unawares. Yet, I did overhear my mother proclaim, "How delightful it is to be free from Marcus, who doth mar the merriment." Alas, I found myself in a state of utter bewilderment, uncertain of the path to take. Upon my entrance, a hush fell upon the assembly. "Alas," mother did declare, with naught but a flat tone, "thou hast returned with haste. Alas, it seems I have overlooked the missive regarding the cessation of our Yuletide revelries." I uttered, striving to maintain a calm demeanor. She stood resolute, her gaze unwavering, and declared with a firm voice, "We shall not partake in the festivities of Christmas with thee this year." In an instant, as if by magic. Alas, I am at a loss as to her expectations of my actions. Shall one be filled with ire? Weep? Entreat to be embraced? With a mere nod, I made my way to the kitchen, retrieved my laptop, and whilst they returned to the festive task of adorning the tree from which I was excluded, I accessed my mortgage account. Upon selecting the option to remove the co-borrower, I faced the query of certainty without a moment's pause. Not for an instant. Yet, that was not the conclusion. Far from the mark. Forsooth, the instant they discerned the deed I had wrought, and the weight it bore, the visages were cast aside. In that moment, all was set ablaze. It was but a fleeting moment. 3 days hence, whilst I partook of my midday repast within the confines of my office, my device did commence to sound with great fervor. Lo, a missive hath arrived from my mother. Marcus, what mischief hast thou wrought upon the mortgage? Then another, this time in all caps, thou art being dramatic. This doth lack mirth. I made no response. Not in haste, I pray thee. I gazed upon the missives, the letters dancing before mine eyes, momentarily obscured as if my mind were caught in a fleeting pause. Though I had anticipated their eventual awareness, I was unprepared for the swift tide of panic that ensued, a tempest I had not foreseen. I deemed it possible that a week, at most, would elapse ere they discerned the weight of the matter. Never did I imagine they would hold such concern. Yet, it seems they did indeed. My mother did attempt to reach out next. I allowed it to toll. Yet once more, I did turn a blind eye to that matter as well. At long last, a missive of sound did arrive upon the ether. What did I anticipate? Perchance a semblance of contrition. Nay, Marcus, thou art acting with a spirit most vengeful. This abode is a sanctuary for kin, not a mere instrument of fiscal retribution to wield against us. I did nurture thee with greater expectations than these. Pray, return my call. That final verse did indeed provoke a hearty laugh from my lips. I did nurture thee with greater expectations than this, my dear. As though the irony were not ample enough to slather upon a slice of bread. Upon my return to the abode that eve, a profound stillness enveloped the dwelling. Excessively still. In the usual course of events, Tyler would be engaged in his gaming pursuits, whilst Ray would be feigning the act of mending some contraption. Yet now, alas, naught remains. Lo, but a gentle murmur doth arise from the cold keeper, whilst the air is tinged with the acrid scent of something amiss in the hearth's domain. Perchance one of Ray's notorious concoctions, a veritable stew of experimentation. Upon my entrance, as is my custom, I laid my keys upon the table and cast aside my shoes with a gentle kick. Never did I foresee such a complete surprise in the parlor. Yet, behold, there they sat, Mother, Ray, and Tyler, all perched upon the couch with a rigidity that bespoke a prior rehearsal for a most solemn intervention. "Thou must amend this," quoth my mother, her gaze averted from mine. "Greetings, Marcus. Hark, I bid thee welcome to thine abode," I uttered with a tone most devoid of warmth, as I cast aside my satchel of devices by the stairway. "Do not engage in frivolous pastimes." Tyler did unleash his ire. "Thou hast trifled with the matters of the household. Such an act is deemed unlawful." I did lift mine eyebrow in curious inquiry. "Unlawful? Text, dost thou mean to alter the designation upon a dwelling for which I have rendered payment? It is not solely thine," Mother did exclaim with a sharpness in her voice. "We have all dwelt in this place. We have claimed this abode as our own. Thou hast dwelt here without cost," I did declare. "That is most assuredly distinct." Ray at last did utter, his voice a mere whisper. "Thou art committing an error, my child. I am not thy son," I uttered, unbidden by thought. Silence enveloped the chamber. That singular blow struck true. Ray averted his gaze, and the countenance of my mother transformed. Not sorrow, unscathed, merely frigid. As though a visage had been donned for an age, she found herself lost in the art of its removal. "After all that we have bestowed upon thee," she uttered softly. In that moment, a certain something within me did break asunder. "Dost thou imply that thou wouldst deceive me into bearing the burden of thine abode, whilst thou transformest me into the family's target of ire? Or dost thou refer to the moment when thou didst cast aside the festive cheer, turning the celebration into a revelry from which I was banished from mine own abode? Pray, lend me thine assistance. Pray, cease thy theatrics, she implored once more. Ever doth that phrase linger, as if it were a balm she could administer to any disquieting verity. I did stroll by them to the kitchen, unlatched the cold chamber, and seized a vessel of water. Mine hands did tremble ever so slightly, yet not from dread. It was a distinct sort of fervor, tempered and intent. A transformation stirred within me, as though a boundary had been crossed, one that could ne'er be retraced. Verily, I did proclaim, as I reclined against the counter, in days of yore, I believed this burden lay upon my shoulders alone, that if I toiled with greater fervor, offered more tribute, and remained silent, I might secure my rightful position within this kinship. Marcus, dear son, began his mother, her voice taking on a gentler cadence. Excessively gentle, refined. Yet, I comprehend it now. I did interject. Text, thou dost not desire a kin. Thou dost seek a master of the dwelling who inquires not, nor pries into thy affairs. And that is no longer the essence of my being. I partook of a draught of water and cast mine eyes upon each of them. Tyler's visage was aflame, his knee a restless jester, fidgeting as though he were a youthful soul confined to the rigors of punishment. Ray was a cipher, embodying the stillness that springs from a long history of feigned disinterest. And Mother, she appeared as though she yearned to utter something witty, something sharp, yet the phrases eluded her grasp. Thus, I did lend her my assistance. I have conferred with a legal counsel, I did declare. In truth, thou art all but mere tenant still. Yet, there exists no covenant. Thus, thou hast a span of 30 days to devise a solution. Utter stillness. Thou art casting forth thine own mother from her dwelling. She spake, her voice quivering in the air. After all the deeds I have performed for thee, thou didst cease to be a mother the instant thou didst regard me as naught but a purse of gold. The chamber remained still for a heartbeat, as if the very furnishings held their breath, eager to witness the unfolding of fate's design. And then Tyler rose with haste, his knee sending the coffee table tumbling forth. This is most extraordinary, good sir. Thou canst not be in earnest. Verily, I speak with utmost gravity. Thou canst not accomplish this deed. He did raise his voice, and I beheld the fissures taking shape. His calm demeanor, once languid and carefree, now dissolving into a tempest of dread. Verily, I did declare with a tranquil spirit. Verily, I shall. I didst turn and ascend the staircase, prepared to sequester myself within my chamber and allow the remainder of the night to drift away in hushed stillness. Yet, as I ascended to the pinnacle, the echo of my mother's voice reached mine ears once more. Thou dost believe thyself so virtuous, she did proclaim. Yet, thou shalt rue this, Marcus. Kinship endures through the sands of time. I paused, if but for a fleeting instant. Then I didst turn mine gaze back toward the corridor, not so far as to behold her, but just far enough for her to catch mine utterance. Well met. I trust thou dost recall each fleeting moment. I did shut the portal to the world beyond and took my seat at the writing table, inhaling with measured calmness. The stillness was not one of tranquility, but rather fraught with anticipation, akin to the charged atmosphere preceding a tempest. Forsooth, this tale hath not yet reached its conclusion, and they were poised to resist with a fervor unmatched in times past. The morrow dawned with a stillness that seemed most unnatural, not tranquil, but rather akin to the atmosphere of a chamber post a fierce altercation, where each utterance resonates with an intensity beyond its nature. Lo, I perceived a presence stirring below, the sound of dishes clattering with a vigor most excessive, subtle jabs accompanied by a warm slice of bread. I did not descend. In truth, my spirit was not inclined for a second bout, and I perceived that theirs was not so either, not as of this moment. Yet, the hush was but a tranquil interlude ere they conspired anew, and lo, by the fall of night, the true endeavor had commenced. It commenced with my mother, who didst slide a missive beneath my chamber door. Indeed, a missive of the most tangible sort, in flowing script. It spanned 3 pages, inscribed upon the fine stationery she reserved for joyous birthday missives. What dost thou inquire of the first utterance? As a devoted mother, I pen these words with love for my son, not as one seeking to exert dominion over him. Verily, so it is. The missive was a veritable tour de force in the art of emotional persuasion. Stanza upon stanza recounting the depths of her devotion, how she toiled through the night and day after my father departed, how she bore her burdens in silence, never uttering a word of discontent. Indeed, she did. How oft did I weep when my knee did meet the ground, and how she was ever present to lift me from despair. Then did the weight of remorse descend upon me. How sorrowful it was to witness our kin unravel before our very eyes. How my deeds did rend asunder the spirits of all around me. How I had allowed wealth to harden my heart. It concluded with a lamentation. I yearn for the return of my beloved son. Pray, do not embark upon this course of action. I found myself ensconced in the text, my heart constricted, not from belief in her words, but rather from a lingering desire to yield to them. Such was the quandary with my mother. She did not nurture me with affection. She did rear me with a sense of duty. Yet those roots proved most arduous to sever. I did not respond. The morrow brought forth a tempest of heightened discord. Ray espied me emerging from my chamber and lingered in the corridor, resembling a makeshift sentinel of sorts. Verily, he proclaimed, with arms crossed, this abode doth not belong solely to thee. Much toil and labor hath been bestowed upon this endeavor. I didst blink mine eyes at him. Thou didst replace a light bulb in the month past. He found it most displeasing. His visage grew taut. This manner doth not befit the dealings of kin. Nay, I declared, as I swept by him with purpose. Yet, 'tis the manner in which landlords address those tenants who fail to meet their dues. On that fateful afternoon, the thermostat found itself ensnared in a most curious lock, shrouded in mystery. My mother hath abruptly decreed that the chamber of ablution above shall be deemed inaccessible. The schedule for the laundering hath been altered without prior warning. Trivial matters. Foolish trifles. Yet it continued to rise. Upon a fateful eve, I chanced upon Tyler, ensconced in my chamber, occupying my chair with an air of nonchalance, perusing my browser tabs, as though it were the most commonplace of occurrences. What dost thou engage in? I inquired, striving to keep my tone measured. He gazed upward as though I had intruded upon a hallowed moment. Take thy ease. Merely inquiring into a matter. Thou dost comport thyself as though all the world were thine own dominion. I do possess this, I declared with a sharpness in my tone. Indeed. He rose with a measured grace, his voice descending to a whisper. Verily, perchance it is time thou cease thy pretense of reigning as the sovereign of this abode. Thou art not superior to us, Marcus. I gazed upon him in silence. And he did proclaim, one day thou shalt be the one in need of assistance. And I trust thou shalt recall this moment when we utter our refusal. It was nigh on amusing. Pray, dost thou seek assistance? From whence they came. Though mirth beckoned, I found myself but shutting the portal upon his departure and securing it with a firm lock. Upon that eve, I took to resting with a chair placed beneath the latch. Alas, I cannot claim such a sentiment to be mere folly of the mind. Yet, upon the dawn's first light, I arose to discover my chamber's portal marred, the frame near the lock bearing marks as if some unseen hand had sought to force it ajar. That was the moment I ceased to don the mask of cordiality. I commenced the chronicling of all matters. Images captured in time. Writings. Upon the threshold of my abode, I did place a device of vision, aimed steadfastly at the entrance to my dwelling. I didst print forth the laws of tenancy for the state. Marked each provision that bestowed upon me the authority to deliver a notice. Thus did I commence the crafting of an escape, not solely for their sake, but for mine own as well. Forsooth, though they have departed, I sensed this realm would remain a sepulchre of unease, a dwelling steeped in the shadows of unspoken grievances. Upon the passage of 2 days, the ultimate burden did arrive. Upon my return from the toils of the day, I entered the kitchen and found myself halted in my tracks. They did venture into my cold storage, my designated shelf, where I kept mine own provisions apart, and did cast aside every vessel therein. Containers of sustenance, creamy delights, remnants from the favored establishment of Thai fare I once cherished. All of it cast aside, as if not but refuse. The shelf was rendered spotless, devoid of any trace or mark. A missive was affixed to the portal. Alas, but a single utterance. Fellowship. There exists no mark of one's hand. Merely that. I did not raise my voice. I did not rage through the halls nor call for explanations. Upon ascending the stairs, I did unfasten my portable device and dispatch the official missive of departure. A copy hath been printed. With a swift motion, it was slipped beneath the threshold of the chamber, where they were engrossed in the spectacle of a most curious reality performance. 5 minutes hence, I did hear Tyler exclaim, "What is this?" I made no reply. Not on that eve. Yet, I was certain they would soon arrive at my door. And when they did, lo, they summoned forth reinforcements. For what purpose doth the subsequent stage of their design unfold? In that moment, the kinship of the clan did take part. Upon the morrow following the delivery of the formal decree, I sensed that tranquility would elude me. They would not depart in silence, this band of souls. Alas, I was blind to the lengths they would traverse to reshape the tale. It commenced with Aunt Deborah. She did summon me the following morn, her voice laden with a feigned compassion, as though she had already cast her lot but endeavored to cloak it in a guise of neutrality. "Marcus, dear heart, I have caught wind of some discord within thy abode. Your mother is in great distress. Pray tell, dost thou declare that thou art casting them forth?" I inhaled deeply, as if to gather the very essence of the moment. For nearly 4 years, they have dwelt within my abode without the burden of rent, dear Deborah. They have rendered naught in their endeavors. I beseech them to embrace accountability, if but for a single moment in their existence. She did pause. Verily, I find it most uncharitable, dear heart. In sooth, particularly during this season. Lo, there it stood, the burden of remorse. The timeless stratagem of kinfolk. Render thee the scoundrel whilst they pen anew the tale in the very moment. In the course of the ensuing week, missives from 3 cousins, long silent since the year of our Lord 2019, did grace my device. 2 of them were, but now arriving. One did dispatch unto me a verse from the good book, laced with a subtle sting of passive aggression. Lo, even my venerable grandmother, who hath not been of sound mind for 2 Thanksgivings past, didst manage to capture a message upon the ether, proclaiming, "Marcus, do not subject thy poor mother to this plight." Mine heart should have been filled with wrath. Yet, in contrast, I found myself unclouded, as if a veil had been lifted, revealing the truth in all its clarity. This was the order of things, the vast tapestry of interconnected realms, the intricate web of sentiments, wherein my mother reigned supreme, weaving her narrative of existence and compelling all to partake in her vision. And thus, I concluded my subscription. Thus, I ceased my responses. To all and sundry. To mine toil, I ventured forth. Returned to mine abode. Chronicled all with great diligence. Hark, I did bide my time. The 30-day hourglass did wane, and with each passing week, the chill within the abode did deepen. In both a figurative and a literal sense, dear mother hath taken to neglecting the act of igniting the warmth of our hearth. Tyler didst bang the doors with great fervor. Ray didst sulk in shadowed discontent. The atmosphere was laden with unsaid sentiments. Yet I remained in solitude, slumbered with my portal secured, prepared mine own repast, and bided my time. 3 days hence the appointed hour of departure, I did compose a measured and reasoned discourse upon the realm of Facebook. No wrath, no theatrics. Verily, naught but the truth. Greetings to all. Pray, allow me to elucidate a matter that hath been whispered through the branches of our familial vine. In days of yore, I did consent to dwell beneath one roof with my mother, stepfather, and brother. I have rendered the complete down payment and have borne the weight of nearly all expenses henceforth. In the face of earnest endeavors to forge a common bond of accountability, I have been met solely with cunning deceit and veiled hostility. Upon enduring the exclusion from familial gatherings within mine own abode and witnessing the relentless transgression of my boundaries, I did proclaim a formal decree for departure. This act was not born of malice, but rather from a place of honor and dignity. I extend to them my sincerest wishes for prosperity and joy. Yet I shall no longer forfeit my tranquility to uphold another's illusion of kinship. And thus, I took my leave from the digital realm. That thread did not merely halt the relentless campaign of familial guilt. It did utterly vanquish it. A handful of souls endeavored to sustain the endeavor, yet the majority withdrew upon beholding the evidence laid bare. Images captured from the display, missives conveyed through the ether, visions of ruin. I refrained from casting aspersions or revealing every sordid truth. It was not requisite for me to do so. The truths did proclaim themselves with sufficient volume. When the day of departure did at last arrive, I refrained from boasting. Not a word did I utter. With the aid of a companion possessing a sturdy vehicle, I did transport their belongings, though scant were those of true value, to the threshold of the abode. With utmost care, I did pack it all mine own self, each item labeled with precision, devoid of any tumult. Tyler emerged, proclaiming loudly of treachery within the kin, yet I remained silent, offering no reply. Ray did keep his countenance lowly cast. Mine mother gazed upon me with an expression most perplexing, neither wrath nor sorrow gracing her visage, more akin to incredulity, as if she believed I would yield in the final hour. Nay, I did not. They did take their leave in the midst of the afternoon's gentle embrace. Neither embrace nor affection shall be bestowed. There shall be no concluding utterances. Lo, the gentle whisper of tires upon the gravel, fading into the distance as they journeyed forth down the lane. As the carriage rounded the bend, I did secure the portal behind me, fastening it with care, and there I lingered in the stillness that enveloped the air. Never had the abode known such profound stillness. No thumping from above. No revelries of the night shall echo through the walls. No deceitful manipulation. No remorse. Alone, but for myself. And for the first time in many a year, I came to grasp the true essence of that revelation. Tranquility. In the weeks that followed, I set about the task of cleansing my surroundings. Walls adorned anew with fresh hues. New locks have been acquired. Restored mine own chamber of toil. Transformed the second chamber for guests into a realm of melody, as I had long desired. Lo, I did restore the festive adornments, solely for the joy of it. Lo, I did entertain companions within mine abode for the first time in an age most long. Gathered for an evening of merriment and games. Beheld foolish flicks upon the canvas of the night in the garden's embrace. In a single month, I found mirth more abundant than in the preceding 3 years combined, and I slumbered more soundly than I had in a score of years. Lo, I still receive the rare missive from a soul, yearning for reconciliation amongst us all. Yet, I assure thee, I do not partake in the act of biting. I harbor no ire. I bear no resentment. Verily, I find myself at an end. Forsooth, at times, to depart is the sweetest form of retribution. To dwell in harmony, to draw lines with purpose, and to embrace tranquility rather than the relentless pursuit of acclaim. Thus is the path to victory laid bare. Verily, indeed, we shan't partake in the festivities of Christmas with thee this year, she declared. Indeed, quite splendid. I did respond. What dost thou seek now? I do honor it in a manner most fitting to my own desires. With mirth and delight. With melody. With souls who arrive and bear true intent. And devoid of any subtle jabs or veiled pursuits to be found.